Hello, 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 and welcome to a very intriguing episode of the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. The Blood Brothers, the Three Musketeers, have been split up. So, I, being the captain, we're going to coordinate with, first of all, Kachi, and then later in the episode, Tamara, to get their thoughts on the latest episode of The Sympathizer. So, yeah, Kachi, welcome. You weren't here last week, actually,
Thank
so it's
you,
like,
thank you. Yeah, I wasn't,
um,
unfortunately.
So yeah, we're going to get into your thoughts on last week's episode as well before we do everything. This is going to be an intriguing experiment, so let's hopefully
Yeah,
it doesn't annoy the listeners too much. But yeah, before all of that, guys, quick admin. As you listen to this, our challenges
most.
episode will be out, so you can check that out. Aisha and Priscilla talking about the challenges. Idea of You is also out, in which they spoke about the latest Anne Hathaway Prime Video film, and then they also um gave their favorites, quote unquote, I'm Just a Girl films.
Fun
Um,
fact,
I,
fun fact, I met
yeah.
Anne Hathaway last week at a gallery
Where?
in New York. At a gallery in New York. Random.
Is that the
Very,
crowd? Is that the crowd you're hanging out with?
I said, no, 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 very random.
And Hathaway Art Galleries?
It was at a Friday evening, random, regular gallery. It was empty, and she was standing by the right, I was standing on the left. I was with a friend. And I was looking, just chilling. Then I turned to my right and I saw her. It was random, very weird, but
So
she's really nice.
Idea of You could have been about your story if you played your
I
cards
so
right. You did
no,
you
too
didn't play
late,
your
not
cards
too
right.
late, not too
I mean,
late,
it's
not
great.
too late.
It's great to. It's actually not. It was great to learn that Anne Hathaway is nice because yeah, that's exactly what you expect from
Yeah,
Anne Hathaway.
yeah.
But yeah, and then later this week, our episode on the Fall Guy and Ryan Gosling. It's the Ryan Gosling. It's the goofy Ryan Gosling podium. So like his goofy films. We're going to kind of rank them. Some of my best Ryan Gosling films are in that category. And then also Bridgerton Part One drops this week, and we'll be talking about all of that. So okay, The Sympathizer, episode 5, titled All for One, written by Park Chan Wook and Don McKellar and Megan Huang, who also wrote on Shogun. So big year for her. Directed by Mark Munden. Kachi, before we get to episode 5, what do you think of episode 4? Because I don't know if you've
Yeah,
listened to the episode that we did
yeah,
last week. Tamara and I were a bit
yeah.
split on our reactions.
Episode four was the best episode so far, in my opinion. I think that was the episode where
Okay, so
stuff
you're
really,
in my camp.
yeah, stuff really started happening. That was when they started shooting
Yeah.
the whole film. And yeah, that was my favorite episode so far. Four and
Mhm.
five. But yeah,
Okay,
four was when,
you're my yeah
what'd
when
you
things
say?
started happening. So let's talk about 5. So let's talk about
Yeah,
5.
yeah,
I said
yeah,
yeah, you're in my camp as opposed to Tamara's camp.
yeah.
I'm intrigued when I speak to Tamara later. I'm intrigued to know where if this
She's
episode
gone.
kind of brought her back on board. But what did you think? Did you like
Yeah,
this episode?
yeah, it did. This
Episode
episode
5.
sort of, yeah, it takes off from where four left off. We find him. I think the
Mm-hmm.
first scene is we find him in the hospital. He's recovering from his accident.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's
So
with. I've forgotten who he's with. Yeah, his best friend.
Born, Born,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oof, I've missed them up now. That's annoying.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, his best
he's
friend
with
that
his best
is
friend.
in
Yeah,
America.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think
Um.
he's having flashbacks.
hmm Yes, he's kind of having
He's
flashback,
having
and he's
flashbacks.
kind of
Yeah,
we kind of discussed this last week as well about how
yeah,
reality and fiction is beginning to be blending, and even in this case, you can see that
mm-hmm.
he's remembering them cutting themselves for the Three Musketeers thing, but he's remembering it on the
Yeah,
gravesite from the Hollywood movie. So like a lot of that is just beginning to mesh up in
mm-hmm.
his head. So what I've done, which I guess I'll carry into my discussion with Tamara as well, is I've kind of divided the episode into three parts, right? So there's the recuperation bit,
Yeah,
which is him in the hospital, him having the discussions with the lawyer, and then pay him off and everything.
yeah,
And then there's
yeah.
the
Hmm.
bit with the general and general's plans, and then there's the bit with his
Mm-hmm.
love affair. I don't think there's much we can discuss about the recuperation. I mean, I think the metaphors there are quite brazen and
Yeah,
heavy-handed. There's nothing subtle like they're paying him off for quote unquote not losing any substantial. any substantial body parts or anything.
No body
um,
parts.
and they're putting a price on this Asian man's life, right? This two white
Yeah.
people. Um, so there isn't much like there isn't much that needs to be deciphered in there. But I think something that was interesting to me was, and I would like to hear Tamara's thoughts on this as well, and I want to hear yours right now. Is
Mm-hmm.
you see the way he how emotional he gets when he sees that these guys came to see him in the hospital, right? Because we have to
Yeah.
remember that he hates all these people. These are his
Mm-hmm.
enemies. Like he acts like he doesn't, but like
Yeah.
he hates these people.
I
And I
forget
think
that
there was
sometimes.
you do forget. Do you know what else I forget? I
Yeah.
forget that
Yeah.
like everyone that's a refugee that came with them is like military stroke police affiliated. Like these
Yeah.
aren't civilians. They're
Cause
all people that like
they didn't bring random guys.
exactly, and you forget that, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a softening there that you're like, oh okay, is he? Maybe he's not. Like, I'm not saying he's like giving up on the cause, but like, is he softening on hating these people as much? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like, and did that scene jump out at you?
Yeah, it did. Sort of. I've forgotten. There was a scene in episode 2 where he's talking with his friend that he killed.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the speech he gives him where he finds out his friend is shipping expired candy back to
Yeah, that
Vietnam,
would have been three, episode
and
3. Yeah.
yeah, I think they had like a conversation about how you need to adjust quickly in
Mm-hmm.
America, how you can't be alone, and you need to adjust quickly. And the sort of idea of adjusting to American life is capitalism and making money.
Yeah. Yeah. Like yeah.
Yeah.
I think we would discuss on that episode. Just
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I like yeah. So generally, and I think even thinking about that, I was like, oh, that's a good. It might because we know he's been captured in the end. He's with the commandant,
Yeah.
and we don't know is he. So then this plants the question of his allegiances actually waver, or was he just like a temporary thing? Because like you can see how emotional he is that these people
Mm-hmm.
came to him, even brought him this present and everything.
Mm.
Um,
Do you think he was genuine about his his confusion about the captain's plans to go back?
I don't think he knew because he'd been in Hollywood and then in hospital. I don't think he knew that the captain's plans
Yeah,
had got that
yes.
far.
So wait, was he in Hollywood? Was the hospital in Hollywood or was he back?
No, he was back in Los Angeles
Okay,
or
okay,
wherever I
yes,
think
yeah,
they're in
he
Los Angeles.
was
But
back.
like, but he had gone straight
Yeah.
from the set to
Yes,
the hospital. So like he said, he had been away for
yes,
5 months.
okay.
So he didn't actually know
Yeah,
what the captain was
what was going
on. Actually, so
on?
let's actually just quickly because again we are kind of running against time. Maybe we should just go to the captain's
Yeah.
plans because these
Hmm.
kind of like they take him by
I was
shock, by
surprised he
surprise.
wasn't. Yeah, I was surprised he wasn't upset that the captain and his daughter didn't come see him.
Well, I mean, I think he was. He
Even
didn't
his
show
girlfriend.
it. Well,
Yeah,
we'll talk about
even
the
his
girlfriend and
girlfriend.
we'll talk about
Yeah,
Lana
yeah,
as well, the captain's daughter.
yeah.
But I think you could tell that
Hmm.
like the thing about the relationship with the captain, like there's only so upset he can get because like the captain is like
Yeah,
literally his commander, his
his
command,
enemy.
and
Yeah.
you can see that he's like
Sometimes you
not
forget.
apart from even being his enemy, yeah, apart from even being his enemy,
Yeah.
like in under his pretense and in disguise, this is his superior. So he can't really, he's not going to
Hmm.
shout at him for not, but like he mentions it is like even Claude came and like you never came and
Yeah.
everything.
Hmm.
And then the captain kind of like deflects and makes it about him. I really don't like sorry, not
Yeah.
the captain, the general. I really don't like the general. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, and like, the general has these plans, and we see that
Hmm.
he's been creating this army, this secret army, which is being trained by Bond, and everyone thinks that the plan to reclaim the homeland is this kind of maybe like PR thing or raising awareness or like humanitarian
Yeah.
thing, but like they don't know that they are funding this kind of military operation. Um, yeah, and I think that's probably, if anything, I think this would be the thing that maybe like would get Tamara back on board. But I think this is a threat because her main thing was obviously that it wasn't the story wasn't flowing as one
Yeah.
story, as one
I
spy
get that.
story. And I think this is yeah, and I think this is one thing where like this is something that will propel into the next episode and probably into the finale.
Yeah, I feel it
But
really
yeah,
kicked
it's like
off last episode.
yeah, I agree as well. I really like the last episode, and I think the general
Yeah.
has this plan where he's trying to. I don't know what his plan is. Like, there's no way he
Hmm.
plans on actually creating a Vietnamese army in America and then going to Viet. Like, he's not going to
Yeah.
have enough people, but like we'll see what his plans are.
Definitely.
Um,
I liked,
but
sorry, I liked I think the final scene of that episode was them showing, the general showing him, the army
yeah,
training,
yeah.
and then he
hmm
was having flashbacks with his own training back,
When
back home.
well, no, he was having
No,
flashbacks to when he was a
yes,
child, and but it was also having,
yeah,
but also seeing
yeah,
him,
flashbacks, yeah,
but also see him
yeah,
in the future being captured and kicking in his cell and
yes,
everything. Yeah, those kind
yes,
of all of
that
that was
was
kind of
good. That was
juxtaposed
good.
together. I have a question I'm going to ask you and also ask Tamara because I was thinking, and then we get a lot into his
Mm-hmm.
background this episode. We get to see how he
His
became friends
childhood,
with Bon and yeah, how he became friends with Bon and
yeah,
Man, how he became the Three Musketeers and
mm-hmm.
everything. But we see that we get deeper insight into the kind of bullying he got. And I wonder, like, do you think it's possible that like that bullying and his hatred of these people that he grew up with was what sent him into like the North Vietnamese camp? Because the thing is, we don't know how he was radicalized or even why
Yeah,
he was radicalized. Like for someone that grew up with this in the South, why did he then align himself with the North? Like, so I don't know
yeah.
if I don't know if that's
Even
something too surface level as well. Oh, this
even
guy's bullied
yeah,
him and now he's became
even as a child, even his friends were calling him half breed,
half breed
belonging
with
to no
12
one.
households.
Yeah,
So yeah.
so half breed with 12 also. Yeah,
So I
so I
wonder if
think
that's kind
so. I
of
think
thing
that
that like
definitely,
instilled hatred in him growing up and it was like, okay, well, I just hate these people I'm around and I'm gonna align myself with the North Vietnamese against these people in the
definitely.
South.
I think the final two episodes, 6 and 7, hopefully we'll delve into that. I
Yeah, I
think
think
we'll get
I'd like
closer
to
to
know
when he's.
why. Yes, I'd like to know why he got radicalized. What was this radicalized? Actually,
Yeah.
radicalized. I don't know if that's even a too sensationalist
Hmm.
a word to use, but like,
Yeah.
why did he align himself with the North, which are not the people that he grew up with, or the people that like he grew up
Yeah.
in the South? Anyway,
This episode also talks about his mom a bit too.
in what way?
The general's daughter taking his mom's name.
That's true. That was this
Yeah.
week. That yeah, the
Yeah.
general does take. And we
That
can
was
use that to talk
weird. You
about
see, he was upset. Yeah.
well. So here's the thing. Let's use that talk about the love part of this episode because he's a lot less upset and with good reason at Lana taking his
Mm-hmm.
mother's name as a stage name, which she explains she wasn't necessarily taking his mother's name; she was taking the name of
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
first character.
Yeah.
And I think you can believe her as much as you like her.
Yeah.
I will save my thoughts on Lana for my journal. I'm not going to put that out on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, his reaction to that is a lot different from RDJ's character, Nico's, putting making that naming that character his mom's name. You get right. It,
Yeah.
it's if anything, that's probably the clearest example of like paying an homage to a name and
Mm-hmm.
um using a name, appropriating a name, right? Like
Yeah.
you've named this random Vietnamese character this name, and then now she's gonna get raped, or you're doing
Mm-hmm.
something in a more positive way. I don't know. I do think it triggered is not the right word. It's definitely ticked him off at first, but I think it was a lot easier for him to get on board with it than, for example, last episode when with the whole with the film scene and everything. But let's talk about
Yes.
the love part because with Lana we see that he's beginning to feel something for her.
The
Something
scene after her
I think the show
performance
has.
where she thought the scene after the performance where he
When he
thought
thought,
she was
yeah,
introducing
yeah,
him. Yeah. That was
could have
hilarious.
been worse. He could have stood up. He could have stood
True.
up and then
True.
yeah. So like it's not the best thing, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. My reading of it is like the show hasn't. I think. I mean, Lana is someone who has apparently the show might have spent maybe 10 months in America, but it seems like Lana has spent 5 years. Like Lana has grown
Yeah,
so
she's
so so
grown
quickly
obviously.
from the child that was
Yeah.
in Vietnam.
And
But
she's not in contact with her parents
yeah,
anymore. according to last
That was the
episode.
idea, right? That was yeah. That
Yes,
that seemed
yes.
like the
He's
idea
not a
that
contact with
was
her
being
because he
yeah.
felt like
So,
she felt like he snitched on her
hmm
when his friend came and told her to come back,
yeah.
and she was
I mean,
upset.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like a lot happens in Lana's character in a short space. Like it's only been 3 weeks since we last saw her, but since then, like
yeah.
she's just kind of changed a lot and
How
everything.
long
But yeah, I think
how long
there's
is the film shooting for?
how long is the what?
How long is the film shooting for?
Well, the film shoot was what they say, 17 weeks, so 4 months and a
Oh,
week,
okay, okay,
and then he was
okay,
in hospital
okay.
for like an extra three
So,
weeks. So I think he
so
said,
they've been so yeah they've been in America close to a year.
they've definitely been for America, maybe
Yeah,
even just over a year. They've been able
yeah.
to set up a restaurant, set up a liquor store, and everything. But yeah, let's talk about the love part because we can see that he's beginning to at least get feelings for her. He's a bit
Mm-hmm.
jealous about Jamie. Um,
Yeah.
they're flirting, and before Bond
His
comes in,
girlfriend has moved on too.
to yeah, let's. I would fight someone, man. I would fight
Yeah,
someone because like you start off talking about how we like this is free love and there's nothing we're not really a thing. The next thing I come back and you're like
yeah.
playing home with this guy, you're like opening yourself up
She
to
didn't
him
see
and
him in the hospital.
this
Mhm.
life, Sha. She did come to see him in the hospital, not even once.
Yeah,
Sent him a cactus. That's
so,
so sly. Um, but yeah, and like those guys are in this is a couple, and if anything, maybe that might be more reason to like kind of drive him towards Lana and see. I don't know what the ethics are around the whole Lana thing.
yeah.
Um,
Because
I don't.
because I was
Yeah,
because
I guess he knew how much
from
was.
episode 1 and 2 I was getting baby sister vibes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess he lived in the house, so he knew her when she was younger
Mm-hmm.
and underage. But also he
Yeah,
didn't seem like he. I don't know. This is a guys Kevin Hart meme. I'm not saying that this is a defense or not. I'm just stating what I saw in the
yeah,
show. Like it didn't seem
mm-hmm.
like he had any attractions to her until
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
last episode, like episode where Hollywood episode where you can start seeing that he was becoming a bit quite overprotective and everything.
True.
But yeah, I guess we'll see. Uh, There are two things. I think you might have not noticed this. Maybe if you haven't listened to the episode or finished the episode, we talked about last week about the whole quote about how from Francois Truffaut about how there's no such thing as an anti-war film. And we kind of discussed all of that in regards to the film they were shooting last week. And I think Claude even mentions
Yeah,
that this week when he's talking about because because like me, the captain wants to know like why do Claude and the politician care so much about Nikos's film? And his quote is
yeah.
that movies are important, especially if made by a significant director. He says some stuff about how
Mm-hmm.
you control the director, but then he says, take the Hamlet, right? Our guys, they
Yeah.
slip up every once in a while, but all it takes is one
I felt like they
upstanding,
were
heroic
trolling.
American soldier
I
to
felt like
straighten
they were
everything
trolling
out.
Spielberg.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily a troll or I think it's just pointing out
Yeah,
a fact. And I think it's like it's the
yeah.
whole thing we discussed last week about there's no such thing as an anti-war
Mm-hmm.
film, right? Whether it's Saving Private Ryan or Platoon or Apocalypse Now, is that you might be trying to say that like war is bad, but like in the end you kind of paint war
Glorified.
in an
Yeah.
exciting way, right?
Cool.
Let's
Yeah.
take the
Yeah.
Hamlet for example, like exactly like Claude was saying. You have David Duchovny's character, who is obviously this terrible person, and he tries to rape the
Yeah.
indigents in the hamlet in the village. He tries to do these terrible things, but then you have I can't remember his name, but the black character who stands up to him. He's also American. So all you're saying is that like David Cobb's character is the bad egg, but in the end, it's still
Yeah.
like it takes an upstanding American with a good conscience. So in the end, it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're not saying that American imperialism is bad. You're just saying that like certain parts are bad, but it still takes the good parts of American imperialism to like fix it. And like that's not really an anti-war
Yeah.
film. That's just in the end, you're just saying that like the good will overcome the bad, or rather, the good America
Yeah.
will overcome the bad America, which is kind of like, eh, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily think it's even like a troll. I think
and
it's just like you
and it's
can't do
funny
it. You,
the David Downey's Robert Downey's character, the politician, sent him a card
mhm.
at the hospital. He was the only one, I think.
He did. It's true. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that. He did send him a card.
sent him a card.
Yeah, he sent him a card. Yeah, he's that guy's slimy. Him and Claude are
Yeah,
definitely up to something. But yeah, I think Claude's plans, General's plans. I'm intrigued to see where those two things go.
yeah. I think the
Um.
last two episodes will take
Okay. Do you have
off.
anything you want to touch on before? Well, yeah, I think they'll
Did
definitely
we?
kind of put
Mhm,
this lead of this episode.
mhm. Yeah, did we touch on the 30K that he got from the studio?
Wasn't 30? It was 15.
Yeah, it was 15. He asked for
It
30, but they
was
brought it
15K.
down to 15.
Yeah, and then he got down to
Hmm.
15. Yeah, I mean, like we kind of mentioned it earlier. It's just like putting a price
Yeah.
on
Hmm.
Asian pain, Asian labor, Asian
Yeah.
like unless you lose a
There
body part
was,
or
there
whatever. And like we
yeah.
see we see that the lawyer came in there with maximum 20, and he still like
Hmm.
lowballed him, saying things like, "Oh, this is the
Yeah.
most you're gonna get," and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just part
There
of
was a quote. There
white
was a quote at the end. I've
racism,
forgotten
man.
who he was talking to, where he said something along the lines of "wars never really died; you just hold their breath." I didn't really get that part.
Um, oh, that was who was he saying that? I think he was talking to
I
Sonny.
can't.
He was talking to Sonny in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
diner, the reporter,
Yes. It was. Yes.
and he said, "Wars never die."
They just hold their breath.
Oh, I can't remember what he said. Yeah, actually, yeah, that's what he said, and I think that
Mm.
is also kind of echoed when he's talking to Man, when that in that kind of
Yeah.
image, and Man says
Mm-hmm.
that the war was going on too long. You can't just expect the general to just like stop. Right? It
Forget
was
about
it
it.
30? I think
Mm.
the war in Vietnam was like a 30 plus years war, and I think it's kind of the same things. Like this war is just going to end just because like one side has declared victory. Like they're just going to
Yeah.
go down, quote unquote, hold their breath, hide underneath, recuperate, regroup, and then come back out. So I think those two competitions are kind of like the same thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this is thank you for pointing out. I completely forgot to make notes of that. Um,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Like you said, final two episodes. Hopefully, we'll have the Three Musketeers together for the final two.
Yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, I don't know. If you don't have anything else, then we'll move on to my conversation
Um.
with Tamara on this same episode. I hope you guys stay.
Not really. Not really. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay.
That was
But yeah,
really. I
okay.
think I'm really
So
excited for 6 and 7.
yeah, hopefully it kind of follows with
Yeah.
the impetus that like five ended with, and
Mm-hmm.
we can go into the final too. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, Kachi, thank you very much for this
No
taking
worries,
part in this
man. Thank you
experiment
for
for
having
with
me
me, and then
again.
we'll be back. Yeah, yeah,
Definitely next
of
week.
course, and then hopefully we'll all be together for the final two episodes of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and yeah, just
Thank you.
guys, just stay on because I'm going to talk to Tamara about this same
No
episode in like
problem.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, everyone, thanks for staying on. We're joined for part two. By Tamara.
Paqueta too.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like I said, it's quite an intriguing way to cover an episode of television. But yeah, so
In multiple
um,
parts.
yeah, I will probably repeat some questions I asked Kachi to you, so hopefully the audience members are patient with us. But yeah, Tamara, we're just gonna go straight into it because we're running
Let's
against
get
time.
into it. Let's get into it.
Are you what did you think of episode five? Are you back on board? Are you
I
still undecided?
they have lost my ass. I fell asleep severally. Severally watching this. It was a tough watch because I was like,
So are you done?
okay, so I'm not done though. I'm not done. I believe that they can bring it home, but right now they are
Uh-huh.
not near the house. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are. It was like, how do I put it? It was not. I don't know. I don't feel like nothing happened, but also nothing happened. Like things were just moving and going on and happening, but like plot wise, I was like, okay, this is taking us. I'm not intrigued. I'm not like, oh, what's gonna happen next? I'm like, I'm bored now. Get to the fucking point. It's episode 5. Get to the point. What
Yeah.
is the point?
Do you think it was leading up? Everything episode was leading up to like the general's plan, essentially the secret army.
Even his plan sounds stupid. What's your plan? What's really your plan? To carry your secret
No, but
army
I think
and fly back and go and fight, led by this assassin who is pseudo alcoholic? Like, no.
I mean, I think it's meant. I think it's meant as into the audience. I think it's meant to be stupid because it is. It does sound stupid. Okay, so what I did with Kachi earlier is like I said, I just divided the episode into three when we are discussing. It was like the recuperation bit, the general's plan, and then the love bit. But before all of that, I
Okay.
want to talk about something with you because shout out Pete Peppers who has his own YouTube channel. He's been covering the Sympathizer as well. He was here earlier
Mm.
to talk about For All Mankind. So we're talking about the Sympathizer, and I mean, Pete, if you listen to this, I apologize because I just realized I didn't get his permission before sharing his thoughts. But I don't think we have cross audiences, so I apologize, Pete.
So it's called public
But
domain. Public domain.
yeah, so he's read the book, right? So
Mm.
he was talking about because he too was listening to our previous episode 4, and he was like, "Oh, was it episode 3? I think it was episode 3." He was like, he too felt like there was something missing, right? That like everything, it was kind of thing where all the pieces are in place, but something was a bit missing. And then he said
Mm.
this, he messaged this to me where he's like, "What's missing from the book reader's perspective is knowing the way he thinks about everything. He being the captain. So right in the
Mm.
book, basically the hook of the book is that you know what the captain is thinking. Like he's in between. He says he's in between and sympathetic, but also a charismatic, unreliable narrator. And it was like in the show, I
Mm.
don't know if I would care that much about the different things he's going through. And I was thinking about
Mm.
that. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because what happens, and you can see that in the book, you care more about the character of the captain. So when you care about the character of the captain, you care about him going to Hollywood. You care about his girlfriend basically leaving him for his rival from university. You care about all these things. Well, I think what happened now is that in this show, maybe they couldn't. Obviously, I haven't read the books. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't translate that feeling from the book to the show. But then now we are caring more about the plot than the character, which is never a good recipe. It's never a good thing when you care more about plot than character
I
because,
agree. I
like,
mean, it can work sometimes, but it has to be because I was thinking that when I was watching this, I was like, okay, they made me think it's plot heavy, but it's not. It's a character study essentially. But then the character hasn't really
that's the thing. It's meant
changed
to be character
much,
study. It's meant to be character study, but like, and it's kind of happened when we
but he
talked last
hasn't
week. He spent,
changed.
like I said, it took us 4 weeks to talk about Huashande's performance, and it's like we then decided that, like, yeah, it's fine. He has a lot to do, and we appreciate that
Yeah.
and he's doing it well. But like in terms of, and it's maybe between performance and character and writing, and like I think in the book we kind of get impressions here in the show that in the book a lot of it's happening in his head, right? It's a lot of voiceover and a
Mm.
lot of unreliable narrating, and here
Mm.
I guess it's difficult for us to really be on board and like I still ask all these questions about character, like character motivations and things, but like I guess yeah, which is why we are all like, oh, it's a spy show and shows the spy plot. But in the end, it's just like if you're more invested in the plot than the character, and then the plot is not
It's not plotting.
basically like it's not doing spy because it's this show is plotted like we're meant to care about the character because like I said, if you care about
Mm-hmm.
the character from episode 1, then we can enjoy him spending 4 months in Hollywood, and we don't really care about like the like. For example, I always say this in like a mystery. Whenever we're doing a mystery show, whenever we're covering a mystery show, I never care
Mm.
about the mystery. Like if it's a good one,
Yeah, I care about the people
yeah,
involved in the mystery.
exactly. I never care about who killed who or whatever. I care more about characters.
Yeah, that's not the point.
So
Exactly.
I think if we're going to bring down to one fault is that maybe they just didn't make that main character of the captain as engrossing as it should be, which then that
Yeah.
leads to a lot of because then when that is not the case and your plot isn't like insert great spy show here, then you
It's
you get
just meh.
end up losing it. Yeah. So I mean, I guess the hope is that like with this thing of the cap now actually showing us the general's plans, maybe hopefully that makes at least the plot of the next 2 episodes. Um
I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic. These people have had 5 good weeks to ginger to tickle my fancy, and here I am untickled.
but here I am
They
on tickle.
briefly they started to tickle me in episode 3, and then just took the feather away. Just said no, no.
This is an incredible analogy. I love it so much. I love everything. Here I am on tickle. That's like the name of my autobiography. Just like here I lay on tickled.
Here I lay untickled.
Okay, what do you want to? Because like I said, we only have a few minutes left, and even though we've kind of established that these are things that some things of this show are not working for us, let's actually talk about the plot. I guess. What do you want
Okay.
to? If we talk about the captain's love troubles, or I guess the plan, because actually no, before we do that, I mentioned this Kachi, but I don't know if you caught it when Claude is explaining the whole why he's interested in the film, right? And then he basically talked about what we talked about last week about the whole there's no such thing as an anti-war film, right? Claude is basically
Mm,
like Claude basically lays out what it's almost as if I had watched this episode because oh, guys I haven't because I was watching it week by week, but Claude basically lays it out. He's like, look at this film, yeah, David Duchovny's character is an asshole, and he tries to rape this woman, but in the end, it's
mm.
an American soldier with a conscience that comes to solve him, comes to save her. So it's like, yeah, parts of America are bad, but like it's still going to be good America
But
that wins in the end.
ultimately, they're the heroes, no matter
Exactly,
what. They may rape
exactly,
people and fund genocide, but heroes, Captain America. Like,
exactly. Yeah, there's just like yeah. So like in the end, American imperialism is always the savior and the good thing, right? So
mm.
like there might be some quote unquote bad eggs, but in the end, you have to like believe in American imperialism essentially. So, but yeah, okay. So you want to talk about the love bits because Sandra Oh gets a scene this episode. Um,
I think whoever, I don't know if Sandra, oh, maybe she was owing money. Maybe she lost a bet. Maybe it's her dear cousin that said, I beg, just please. This role is so dead for her. Like, we have seen what that woman can do from Grey's Anatomy
mm,
season 1. I was like, this is a star, and she could just be any Asian bitch in this. Honestly, I don't understand. I feel like it was a bit of a waste of her character. Like, I'm just
mm,
like, what is? I don't understand. I keep waiting for her to do something, and this is the only episode where she's done something, and all she does is sleep with another kid. I'm like, okay, I guess. Like,
mm.
I didn't really understand the transition. First of all, she's an asshole. This man nearly died, and your response is to send him a cactus
Okay,
and start sleeping with his
okay.
rival. Are you
I'm
well?
glad it wasn't. Glad it wasn't just me because I try to like check in my male privilege sometimes. I just check. I'm like, let me. Maybe it's just me being a man, but I'm glad somebody else said okay. So it's not.
She
I
was
thought I
an
was wrong for
asshole.
feeling that way. It was
She was
quite
an asshole.
bad.
I was annoyed. I was so annoyed. I was like, this boy, I'm so sorry, this boy does not deserve this. Based on what?
Hmm.
Based actually on what is this coming from? And then she now said a line of, oh, something about her being caring if he stuck around long enough to see
Yeah,
it. He's been
you
there.
didn't.
What do you want him to do? He's been there. And all you gave was cougar
Yeah,
iciness. Now you're forming, oh,
she
I
went from
could have
going
kept
like yeah, she went from going like, "Oh, this is like free love, and my love doesn't belong to anybody," to being like, "You didn't stay enough to say." I was like,
you are not there.
uh,
It's giving toxic nonsense. I was like, did I miss something? Like, I
uh,
went back because I was like, maybe there was a scene that me I did not see. But
hmm
no, she just switched up on him, and I was like, this is random.
hmm yeah,
Like, I
no, I
could
get
have
what you
seen if
mean.
maybe they had teased it before, if there had been something like the last time we saw her meet this rival, she seemed mildly like intrigued, but for the most part didn't give a shit. Now all of a sudden you're sleeping with him.
Well, I mean, I guess obviously that's the thing about like you even alluded to this a few episodes back where you're like you want to know what the general is doing because like we are following the captain right throughout this whole thing, so we don't know what is going on in everybody else's life, and we don't know. And like we agree that like she's an asshole, but like yeah, like we don't know what's happening in 4 months. She could have
Exactly, which is also
grown.
annoying because
Yeah, I mean, speaking of
build
growing, I said earlier when I was talking to Kachi that every other person seems to be growing at a normal pace, but Lana seems to be growing 4 years and 4 months.
no.
But
Lana,
I think
Lana will so start Facebook the way they are moving. I like the way they are moving with Lana. I don't understand. I knew
well,
as soon as I saw the
mhm.
name, I was like, that's Lana. That bitch.
Hmm.
That bitch has carried this boy's mother's name to go and do a Hollywood superstar. Like I can feel it.
But yeah, I think the Sophia thing is probably hopefully no, hopefully it's probably meant to drive the captain towards obviously the arms of Lana, for lack of a better phrase. Um,
Yes, I
what do
figured
you
that's
think?
where they were going.
Yeah,
Which
what do you think
I'm
about
not
that story?
mad at the captain and Lana, but I don't think I don't know. I feel like they always had that natural connection. I feel like there were other ways they could have done that. Then, and even this slow burn that they're doing, because we know they're eventually gonna do something. Here we are. It's episode 5. No vibes yet. The closest we came was like after her show when he was sitting there and they were talking, and you know
Hmm.
it looked kind of cozy, but it wasn't even. Look, the romance part of the show is not romancing. It's not really.
I
I'm
don't think
not
this is
taking.
not meant to be like a fireworks exploding kind of romance
I
because I think
know
it's a
you're a
bit
spy. Every spy, once spies are involved. See, spies are known for three things: one, signature cocktail; sharp suit;
okay.
hot fuck.
Okay.
Hot fuck. That's what you're known for. That's what we came for. Imagine if James Bond was just there giving, I guess to be. Nah,
I'm
James
like,
Bond is
we're, we're-
fucking everybody and spying in between. That's what we like. That's what I came for.
well, I have my cutout for this episode. We have Um, yeah, but I mean, I guess like he's still maybe he's a little beyond shock because like this is someone that he didn't not grow up with, but like he was living in the general's house, so maybe he still sees her as a little sister and he's trying to.
That's where they messed up. That's where they messed up. It's forbidden fruits. It's supposed to be spicy. It's supposed to look at me like, And I was watching, I was supposed to be like, don't do it, but do it. Don't
Like,
do it, but do it. Instead, I'm
I
like,
feel
this
like
your
you're
little
writing a different
sister.
show. I feel like you're writing a different show. I feel like your show is. I feel like the show you're writing is maybe different. Maybe slightly different. That's a Netflix show. That's a Netflix weekend binge. The one you're writing.
I just wanted a little bit of,
Completely involved in the Vietnam War. I think that's a different show from what they were writing, but
No, but
I'm not
even
mad.
you
I'm not
gauge it. You are a spy. You are
mad.
doing double espionage. The hottest thing that's happened to you is you slept with some old lady who doesn't even really know her Asian roots and ended up cheating on you. Like that's not hard. That's not. Nah, he can do better.
Okay.
He can do better. I'm not. And if he gets with Lana at this point, I don't know if I like it because I'm like, it's true. That's your little sister at this point. Like, there's been no vibes. That's like your little sister, and then now
Yeah,
you
I
want
think that's meant to be like I said. I think we're meant to feel that. Or I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong. I went into the idea of you thinking I I thought the idea of you was going to be an exploration on like power dynamics and age gaps in May December relationships. And I was like, oh no, it's just a wishful thinking.
surprise.
Like if you had asked me, like, give me 10 guesses, I would have thought that they ended up together. Because I genuinely thought it was gonna like deconstruct power dynamics in this kind of relationships and like whether it's morally right. And it was like, no, everything is fine. Everything is good.
Like, man,
Even
everything's great.
they'll come back if I it's like, oh, I was like, oh, it's a wish fulfillment. I did not know that. I didn't know that was the story we were watching. So I'm mean, misreading this romance story. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let's do a bit of character work, I guess. Um,
Okay, let's do
thing
it.
about me is that even when a show is not giving it to you, I try to like find character diagnosis. So I asked Kachi this question as well because we see a lot of flashback in this episode more towards like the captain's upbringing, and we kind of
Mm-mm.
see the bullying he received for being a mixed race child. And the only thing that came to my mind because I was like, we still don't know how or why the character was radicalized for the North and against the South, right? Considering he grew up in the South.
Mm.
Right? So I'm thinking, could it be something as obvious as like surface level as like he really hated these people because they bullied him so much growing up that he's like it was easy for him to side with the North, or could it be? Do you get what I mean? Or is it something deeper? Like because we don't. It's a
I
bit of
think
a
it's a
thing.
mix.
Mhm.
I think that will definitely come in a bit. I think also a huge part is if you have this guy. I thought it might be his friend's influence as well, a little bit. If you have this
Yeah,
guy who, from when you were little, was like, "Stick with me. I'll make sure you're good." If he says, "Hey, fuck the South, let's do this," you're gonna be like, "Okay, now let's go, my
his
guy."
other friend hates the North.
Who born?
Like, yeah. because Bond's father was killed by the North Vietnamese
That is
soldiers.
very true.
So he's
So
always
I
been stuck.
don't. I'm intrigued to see. Yeah, he's been stuck in the middle for a
Yeah,
while. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what swayed him. It might be the bullying. Actually hadn't thought of that before you said it. It might be a little bit of everything. That's another
yeah.
thing. Yeah, that I've just realized. Yeah, they haven't really
We
explained
don't, yeah, because
what made.
yeah, to go against everyone you grew up with and like just your entire like it's how do we what is the easiest way of putting it? It's like if were you were Igbo and you grew up Igbo and next thing you know the civil war happens and you're just like against them. Like for what makes you it has to be something
Yeah,
kind of fundamental to make you go
that
against
means inwardly you've
belief.
always felt a certain type of way, and
Yeah,
then as soon
exactly.
as you had the chance to uprise, it's like, ah.
Um yeah, and then something else I was gonna
That's
say.
another. That's another. I even have two pens here. That's another X from Sympathizer. We're on episode 5. Why is my boy sympathetic? I still don't know. There's no inkling, no clue. Continue. Continue with your
Yeah,
next question.
it to be very it to be definitely be a choice if they don't explain that to us over the next 2 episodes.
Like,
Bec- Yeah. And I guess we should also mention that man, or at least the commander says he can't find man and man doesn't seem to exist.
he's dead, oh, like
So,
that
but being
was.
dead is different though, because even if he's dead, there should still be
They will
records.
find evidence, right? Maybe he's off spying as well. I don't know where that man is. I
I
mean, I think that's the one thing that has me like kind of hooked.
so I've
Like this
always
whole.
felt like there's a chance that he's dead. And because all of this, like again, all of this is through the captain's perspective, right? So all these times that he's having discussions with man, or even like letters are coming back and he thinks they're from man, they could be from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very
like
easily.
man could have literally died the day he left Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this is just him. So like it's like, and obviously man is dead, and man again, it's supposed that man is the only one that knows even him as a double agent because man was his only contact, and everything. Okay,
I'm intrigued to see what happened to him. That's the. Well, I like that. I think that was my favorite part of the episode. Sort of going back a bit into their friendship dynamic, and I wish they'd
yeah,
done more with it. But then that whole man, him being involved in this, but not telling. Like I want to know what's happening there. That's the
yeah,
one thread that is keeping me going in this
yeah.
show.
I think
And
the
the
last two.
general, I love the general. I'm a big fan of the general. I don't
I
know
hate the
why.
general. I
Maybe I'm
don't. Are
fucked up.
you? I
Maybe
really
I'm
hate the
fucked
general.
up. He makes me laugh. He reminds me of Nigerian politicians. He just
You know
the
that's
mood
why.
they go.
You know that's why I hate him. I'm just like I hate you. Like I would hate to be working for you so
No, I
much.
would
Like
hate to work for it, but I love to watch him. Just do dumb, just
it's
do shit.
it's actually a very good performance because he's simultaneously
Yes,
child but also this man of power. Like I forget that he
yes.
is a general
He is the
because
general, and he acts
he
like an
acts like
idiot.
a child. Yeah, I'm just I forget those things. And something I talked to Kachi as well earlier is that I forget. Another thing I forget about is that that's a good point actually. Just remember, I forget that the captain hates everyone around him. These are
Yeah.
people from the south, right? Like these are not like some Vietnamese people that he likes. That he hates everyone around him because again, you forget that everyone that came with them is either military or police. These are
Mm-hmm.
not they didn't bring bankers or lawyers along. Like everyone is so like he hates because everybody was fighting for the South. And
Mm-hmm.
which leads me to that scene in the we can end here, but that scene in the hospital when he finds that these people came over to see him and he gets quite emotional. They give him this gift that he even puts on his car. And it's the one time I was like, oh, I can see kind of his stance softening on them. And if he was, I don't think he will, but if he was to quote unquote betray the North or the South, you can probably start seeing the seeds being laid now because it's like
Yeah.
he's beginning to see them as human beings, right? He's been these guys love him. And it's the classic double agent thing, right? Like you get so far into that everybody loves you and you start to question whether you're actually going to betray them or not. So
I think he's kind of always, and this is part of my problem with this show, because for a character study, they don't really delve properly into it. But I think he's always kind
mhm.
of had that balance where it's like you guys are the enemy, but for the most part, you're all kind of cool. Like I
Yeah,
don't get the vibe. I've never gotten the vibe that he, apart from the general, who even the general, I feel like general is like you're an asshole, you should die, but you are a fascinating lunatic. Like, but
yeah,
with everyone else around him, it's the vibe of I actually get along with these people. You're fighting for what you
mm,
believe in. That's fine. I disagree. I don't. not on your side. But I didn't get the vibe that he hated them at all. I got the vibe that
I think we're
he
meant
had
to
a
get the vibe.
job to do, so it was tunnel vision. But then
Yeah,
yeah.
because sometimes, like in episode one, I think the way you can see the way he's talking about them when he's about to get
Oh
them
yes,
out.
episode one.
So
He
I
didn't.
think
Yeah.
maybe it's the show not doubling down on it and made us just believe because the
From when he got to
character.
America, I got the vibe that they were all like just
Yeah.
what's it
So
called?
again, this
Yeah.
might be back to the original criticism that Pete shot singled out because like again the character and the actor are doing this performance where they have to act like they like these people. So we're
Mm-hmm.
believing it, but the show is not reminding us that he hates them
He
either by
doesn't like
going
them.
yes by going into the character's psyche and like reminding us like remember that this guy doesn't actually hate these people because we're just going based on the performance of both the character and the actor.
But
So
even like the voiceovers, even like the little inputs into his mind, there's never really any. That's why I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't mind them
no,
too
yeah.
much.
Um, I think there's a bit of. I would want. I don't think. Again, I don't think this show is going to end up being your favorite of the year. But I hope there is enough in the last episodes that like gets you at least into the positive column. What would you need from last episodes to make you happy that you watched the show? Not excited,
I
at least happy.
need, I need, what do I need? I need to, I feel like I'm 5 episodes in and I don't understand the captain. And I don't like that. Like, it's
Okay.
not that I don't understand him in the way of like Tom Ripley. I don't know what the fuck that man was doing half the time, but I was on board. I was like, look, you are sick, sir, but keep going. But the captain, I don't really like even the whole okay, you're a double agent. It's not that tricky. Half the time you just sit in America and write the occasional letter back home. Like I'm not I need to feel the double agency. I need to feel what he's feeling. I need to every now and
Yeah.
then there's like a little inkling, like okay, you feel his guilt over killing what's his name when he sees him every now and then, or you feel but then there's nothing I don't know this man. So I don't care about this man right now.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wanna
So
the only times I
hopefully,
feel for him is when he's back in North Vietnam. That's it.
yeah, yeah. And I think maybe that's also because that is when he's at least to us he's most transparent because he's not acting.
Yes. Because there's no
And
more forming for this person. For me,
yeah,
I've been cut. There's been a cut, and now I'm just me.
yeah. Well, I mean, going to the last two with an open heart, and then we. It's so
I'm
funny
ready to
because
be
I am,
pleasantly surprised.
I am,
But
I am actually quite cold on the show so far. But like speaking to you, I realized, oh, I'm actually warmer than I thought because you're just like the Arctic. So I was like, oh,
I'm
maybe I'm not.
living here.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's good. I think let's end there for now, and then we'll come back.
In the my last words, in the words
Yeah.
of my travel agent when I traveled during COVID, I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst. That's how I feel about this show.
No, not the worst. Not the worst. There's still too much. Like we said, there are too many ingredients for it to be the worst. Like the worst case scenario is that it will be
These are people that hire Sandra Oh to be doing a boring cougar. Let's see. Mm.
okay. Let's talk about that travel during COVID, right? Let's talk about how that experience went. That's a whole different podcast on its own.
Badly.
For now, guys, thank you for listening to this new experiment. And I promise that the Three Musketeers will be together for the final two, and we'll talk about the last two episodes over the coming weeks. So thank you very much for listening, guys. And yeah, join us next week, and we'll be joined by the one and only Daniel Kaluuya. Bye, guys.
Bye.